Hello everyone, welcome back to my team selection video. This is Pras and you're on the FPL Wire. It's game week 4, international break is over, and we're going to go through my reasons for taking a hit. Um, there's lots to talk about actually this week, but already Lateriser and Zofar have done some excellent videos on the market odds, on their different paths. So I'll try to spend a little bit of time on captaincy. I'll try over the long horizon. I'll talk about this week and I'll talk about my moves. And it's already a Friday afternoon when I'm recording this, so let's see how long we need. But decision making is evolving based on information we're getting. This is why I waited this long, because I wanted to see what's happening with Strand Larson. And look, it is what it is, right? I mean, injuries happen. People went Sar, he got injured. People went Cunha, he got injured. In fact, the worst injury was Cunha's, because it was at the time when he was playing. At least Sar got the points. In Stan Larson's case, he didn't start. So I will not complain. Like, I got to play a sub and it's fine. But injuries are never nice, whoever it happens to. And honestly, it's part of the game. So you have to see how you react to the injuries, not to complain about the injuries. So anyway, let's go through it. So this is now so far back that I don't need to talk about it. I think the only story here for me last week was it was fairly decent, and it was fairly decent because of Bruno Fernandes. Um, so I think apart from that, Richards came up. Mateta, who was my transfer, scored a penalty, so that was great. Of course, the yellow card wasn't. Pedro Porro with 2 defensive contribution points was the other nice thing. Anderson just barely missed out with their defensive contribution, but otherwise, I think this team looked pretty all right, and it looks okay to me for the future as well. Because if I think about Wirtz, if I think about Watkins, I think both of these guys I am personally reasonably bullish on over the next 2 to 3 fixtures. We will see if I turn out to be correct or not. Both have had their price drops, so means there are now fewer people who own them. Um, let's go, like I said, to captaincy. Now, why do I keep fixating on captaincy? Is simply because, so what I've done is, firstly, for people who haven't seen this kind of thing in the past that I do, is basically circle out the the red circles are, think of it like collecting relics or collecting gems that you have to go through between now and game week 15. And the idea of the chips is to give you the ability to collect as many of these gems as possible. Now, because transfers are precious, you can't have all. You can't have all these red gems, but you have to try to get as many as you can. So, what is highlighted here is the expected points from Solio, and these are the top 2 guys every single week. So, what I want to say is, you see this blue bar at the bottom. What I wanted to say is, these are the guys that if you hit during these periods, you will collect the most of these gems. And those are Salah in the next 2 weeks. Now, you could equally have Haaland, but you're missing out on 1 gem, which is game week 5. Arguably, Salah is the best captain in game week 5 when Haaland is playing Arsenal. Doesn't matter, you don't want to collect it, don't collect it. But I'm trying to show you how I try to think. So I collect my 2 gems from Salah in 4 and 5. Then game week 6, you can argue that I'm going to switch Salah to Haaland, because Haaland has 3 gems coming up in 6, 7, 8. So that's a good strategy. I think people can do that. And then you can wildcard in 9. I think something like what Lateriser Pranil has talked about, where you wildcard in 9 and then you collect new relics from other guys, from like Palmer, like Salah. So I think that's a good strategy if you wanted to do that. Or the other way is, after game week 6, like me, if you want to free hit, you can collect the Haaland relic in game week 6. And then in game week 7, okay, you didn't collect the Haaland relic, but in game week 8, you collected it, because Salah is possibly the best captain, but Haaland is similar. So what I'm trying to say is, 4 to 5 Salah is, I don't want to use the word essential, but he's the leader. In game week 6, clearly Haaland is the leader. Game week 7 or 8 is a period in which you can have either one of them, both of them, even none of them, because Bruno can be captained. In game week 8, if you don't have Haaland or Salah, you can captain someone like a Palmer, who's now playing Nottingham Forest. So you will not collect those relics, but even neither is also okay. But one of them is also fine. It's not like you have to sell Salah for Haaland. Of course, you'll save a chip, like a free hit in game week 6, but you'll still have to use a chip if you have to continue collecting these relics after game week 8. So now let's talk about after game week 8. That is the phase where I think Chelsea and Arsenal and to an extent Salah become important. So this is why a lot of people who will wildcard in this phase could wildcard with these three assets that I've talked about. And in my path, what you will see is that by game week 9, I'm trying to get to a position where I have Palmer, because Palmer has 3 of these relics coming up in 9, 11, and 12. Salah has 2 of these relics coming up between 9 and 12. And even Saka and Gyökeres, Arsenal have 1 of those relics coming up. So if you're in that structure, I argue that Haaland isn't as essential. So if for people who are going Salah to Haaland in game week 6, you're going to save the free hit chip. But either you need to be thinking about more transfers in game week 9. So you can do Haaland down to Gyökeres. You can do one of your cheaper guys to Palmer. That works. Or you'll need to wildcard. So then that's this period 9 to 12, which I have put in the blue bar as Palmer, Arsenal, and a Salah kind of period if you want to collect all these red relics. Then comes the game week 13 onwards period. Game week 13 onwards period is the Haaland Salah relic, where every single week, pretty much, you are just collecting relic after relic because these two guys have amazing fixtures. Now, Salah's going to leave soon, but I argue that you still need him before he goes to AFCON. The error bars on Salah are high, I agree, because of Isak signing, because of all these new signings, how much of his goal share changes. TBD. This, what I'm showing here as Salah could equally be Isak, could be both, could be neither. Like if they're all sharing their goals around, maybe we just say, okay, this is Haaland season. Forget about Liverpool attackers. They're all good, but neither of them are FPL picks. None of them are FPL picks. All of these scenarios are possible, but I'm trying to use the information we have right now, where Liverpool have signed a lot of players. There seems to be still only one guy who's going to be playing 90 minutes and be taking penalties. If this changes, this will change. The relics will change. You will collect relics with Isak. So the idea, I have said relic a lot of times, but the idea here is just to show you what my thinking is and why some of the paths that I've talked about and why I'm not wildcarding. So if you are wildcarding, you have to be thinking about, why should you start with Salah? Then you either free hit in 6, or you have to think about these paths. But definitely the marquee moments are try to get Haaland by 6. Try to have Palmer by 9. Try to have Arsenal ideally by 7, but if not by 7, by 9 or 10 as well. And then by game week 13, try to have Haaland and Salah as things stand. I'll leave it there. Coming to this week, I think this is a week where there are, it's a good free hit week for a lot of people, and I see a lot of free hits being active. But it's also a week where there's not a lot of teams who are going to be thrashing other teams. Like if you look at the expected goals, it's only really Liverpool that are very, very high. Like above 2 is good, so Newcastle is good, Man City is good, Arsenal is good, but it's just they're barely over 2. So the big one is Liverpool. So I can see a lot, the free hit draft we discussed on the podcast at triple Liverpool attack. It's for this reason that you probably want to capture the Liverpool attack against a Burnley. This is why I'm happy to have Wirtz this week. Hopefully he plays. Hopefully he does well. Finally, maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. But at least it's a good fixture to attack. Then in terms of clean sheet odds, I think Arsenal, Liverpool, Newcastle, Crystal Palace, they're all similar. So you can't go wrong going for any one of them pretty much. And then after that, if you pick a DEFCON monster from a Fulham, he's fine. If you pick a Tarkowski, who's home to Aston Villa, 30% clean sheet odds, but he gets DEFCON, he's fine. I think Senesi, 24% clean sheet odds, home to Brighton. If he gets DEFCON, he's fine as well. So then it's a little bit of whoever you want to play based on your flavor. And if you have Nottingham Forest defenders and you have to play them, well, so be it. But look, the thing is, they're unlikely to keep clean sheet points, and also DEFCON becomes a problem. But look, it's a new manager. We'll see what comes about with them. So in terms of the left-hand chart that you have here, these are the player projections. I mean, Gyökeres is pretty high. He's number 3 here. I'm not sold on him. And I was pretty honest with that on the main pod as well, where, when you look at him from the eye, you're still thinking, is he struggling? Is he, how will Premier League suit him? But then you also, on the other hand, look at the Leeds fixture where he gets a brace. You go, okay, he's on penalties. He can still score a goal. It's still Arsenal. They will still create chances. And the markets agree. Whether you agree with the markets or not, that's your call. That's your choice. But this guy is expected to score more goals this week than a Mateta home to Sunderland. So the odds are there. So the entry point for me is good. I think the only problem with Gyökeres going this week is you're a little bit stuck with him now for the foreseeable future. Now, stuck is a wrong word maybe, but you're going with him with an understanding that getting Gyökeres and then Haaland also in game week 6 starts to become a little bit tight. So you might have to think about either a free hit in 6 or a wildcard in 8 or 9, which is fine. A lot of people are thinking about that. And if you are not free hitting in 6, then you probably should just wait on Gyökeres because he's playing that Newcastle away fixture, which you don't really want. Then the other point, I think the other guys who stand out is Voltemade. He's got good numbers already. Maybe there's a little bit of Pencher assumed here, but even despite that, almost as good as Mateta home to Sunderland. I think that's a good benchmark, right? Because Mateta home to Sunderland is not as good as it could have been if Sarr was fit, if Wharton was fit, but it's still a good fixture. So if you look at that from that point of view, Voltemade is also then good. So I think good option. I think João Pedro, always a good option, 0.45. Richarlison looks good. I don't think Palmer gets the minutes, so he's not really in the contention. So there's a few good picks here, but notice that, Gakpo and Wirtz, for people who are looking to captain them, they're still not there, especially the Gakpo ones. I've seen a few people on Gakpo captain. Like, I would still tend to say, if you have a Salah, if you have a Gyökeres, if you have even a João Pedro, they're probably slightly better options than a Gakpo. Not too much in it. João Pedro's a striker, Gakpo's a midfielder, you can make up, but that's where I would be. Watkins, the markets have already started giving up. Maybe next week when he has a good fixture, maybe they come back. But as of now, Everton away is not seen as an easy fixture, which it hasn't been historically, to be honest. But the new Everton at home, they're giving it a go. They're conceding chances. So as a Watkins owner, I can only hope and pray. So let's come to my team. So the team is as follows. I've got Sells in goal, Arsenal away. Not bullish at all. Maybe save points. I'll pray. For those of you who listen to the main pod know that I don't like this guy, and I was thinking of taking him up to Raya. But it was more of a luxury move, and because now Strand Larsen is injured, that's really out of the equation because I need to deal with Strand Larsen. I'm still very, very keen to bench boost next week, and I will show you what my bench boost looks like after my moves. But just reading it through, I've got Sells in goal. I've got Porro, Richards, and Anderson in defense. So I think Richards home to Sunderland, very good clean sheet odds. Anderson, good for DEFCON and good clean sheet odds this week. Very good. I'm happy with him. And Porro is also nice away to West Ham. So I would have kept him. But if I have to, and I have 2 million in the bank here, if I have to take Strand Larsen up to pretty much the only other striker that I think is good long term. Now, João Pedro is good as well, but I'm thinking if I can get to Strand Larsen to Gyökeres, I'm only about 0.7 million short of doing that. And if I can do Pedro Porro to a Senesi, who is also great on DEFCON, he's got great DEFCONs on every single game, and I can get Strand Larsen up to Gyökeres, I'm getting two players who are good long term, who are very good long term, and pretty much sets the team up to be open about what route it wants to take in game week 6. So let me just fully read the team before I go to my path. So in midfield, I've got Reinders, who I expect to play number 10 actually in this game because Mamouche is out and our friend Cherki is out. Unless Foden is back, I think Reinders should play in the 10, which is a good role for him. Salah captain, no doubts about that. Bruno, a word on Bruno. So Cunha and Mount are out. So I would expect Bruno to play in the 10. Now, there was a chart that Rob T shared from the Solio data that, it's not like Bruno 10 means points. He's actually better for defensive contributions when he plays in the midfield role, in the central midfield role. But then, okay, we like goals. So if he plays in the next 2-3 games in that role, not a bad thing. So Bruno would play on the left 10, Mbeumo on the right 10, and then Sesko up top. I think that would be the formation that Man United go with until Cunha's back. Now, as soon as Cunha's back, Bruno goes back to his role. But I don't care about that. It's fine. It's a decent enough fixture, and Bruno doesn't go anywhere. He's probably my captain in Game Week 7 as well, so nothing really to say there. Then I have Wirtz. Please, Wirtz, can you do something away to Burnley? If he doesn't do anything, I'll still complain, but I'll still play him home to Everton, which is the fixture next week. That's just how I am. Then I have Watkins. Same request, Watkins. But Watkins is going to stay regardless because he's got 2 more promoted teams to come after this. Well, Everton is not a promoted team, but after this, he plays Burnley and Sunderland in Game Week 5 and Game Week 7. I've got Mateta, who is playing Sunderland. I'm not expecting huge things. I mean, you can already see in the market odds. I think he's a good pick this week, but longer term, yeah, you can question whether how good he is without Sarr. Like next week, he's away to West Ham. I think that's still a good fixture. But again, without Sarr, I don't know what happens with Crystal Palace. And then Stan Larson. I'm very disappointed. Stan Larson was the guy. He's got 3 promoted teams coming up in the next 6 games. But he's looking like he's going to miss at least the Leeds one, which is game week 5. And I was fairly keen to get the bench boost out of the way and have him play Leeds, and that would have opened up a lot of different paths. But FPL is what FPL is. So this is what the plan is. So there is now, I've got 2 options. I've got a free hit 6 path and a no free hit 6 path. I'm 80% likely to free hit. So therefore, I'll focus on the top path, which is what happens after game week 4, actually, not game week 3. So if I do Stan Larson and Porro to Senesi and Gyökeres, next week I can bench boost, and I'll show you my bench boost team. I think it looks decent. It's got 15 players. If there's even a single player that has a niggle or something, I can also ditch the bench boost. I'm not married to making the bench boost work in game week 5. I just think the way FPL landscape is shaping up, as you can already see, by game week 7, I'm looking to take money out of my bench, because by game week 7, I could be doing Wirtz and Mateta to Gui and Saka, if Saka is fit, because Saka's got a good fixture, and I think, it's a good point. So if I can get that money out and get bench boost out of the way, it opens up different opportunities for me, which people who are looking to bench boost won't really be able to make these moves. Or if I don't play my bench boost, I can equally just do Wirtz and Richards to Rice and Gabriel. Richards could be Van de Ven as well, by the way. So these are the 2 moves I would look to make in game week 7. Game week 6, of course, would be my free hit, and game week 7, I come in and I get 1 or 2 more Arsenal players. I'm going to wait on Chelsea. Chelsea comes in game week 9. Game week 9, Chelsea have a really nice fixture, actually even in 8. So I could even bring that move forward for a hit if I wanted to. I'm not committing too many hits here, not to scare people. But Watkins and Bruno can go for Palmer and Pedro. So then for 9, 10, 11, 12, I have the 4 fixtures that Chelsea have, really nice fixtures, and I have Palmer and Pedro for those. So if I go back to if you look at this path, if you go back to my relics point, I have Salah here, I have Haaland here, I have Bruno here, I then have Salah here, I have Palmer here, I have Salah here, and I have Palmer and Saka here. And then I have Palmer and Salah here. So in terms of collecting the relics, I've pretty much, apart from the Haaland relics of these 2, I've pretty much collected all of them. And then when I wildcard in game week 13, I'll be collecting these 5 relics as well. So this is why I spent all this time describing how I will get to this plan of capturing the upside with getting the best captain and the second best captain in most of these weeks. And I think whichever chip strategy you are, if you're on wildcard right now, if you're going to wildcard in 6, if you're going to wildcard in 9, have this in mind. Have these paths in mind. How can you capture the most reds that you can? If you find a way to capture more than me, so like I said, I've captured all of these except for 2. The 2 here. No, actually also this one. Haaland I won't have this week. So the 3 Haalands I won't have, but apart from all these reds I will have in the map. So if you have a different plan for your team or suggestions for my team, if I can capture them, please let me know. But of course, this uses a free hit and a wildcard. So that's where I am. I did promise that, so if I'm not on a free hit, what do? I still want to capture those relics. So the idea here would be that I still do the same move. So therefore, I carry my 2 free transfers. I could do Salah and Mateta to Haaland and Paqueta. Oh, that actually rhymes. And in game week 6, then I have the Haaland relic from game week 6. And then in game week 7, I do Wirtz to Saka, which gets me, again, double Arsenal attack, ready for the good fixtures. And then in game week 9, I would do the same move that I have shown here, which is Watkins and Bruno to Palmer and Pedro. So again, even if I don't free hit, what I've captured here is, now obviously I've let go of these Salah relics. So I won't get this Salah relic, I won't get this one, and I won't get this one. So I've again let go of 3 and 1 here 4. So I've let go of 4, but in this case I've also saved my free hit. So I'll have to see, getting closer to this period, on how much I'm giving up. Is Saka fit? Because that path works if Saka is fit. If Saka is not fit, then what am I selling Salah for? Like, I don't like the fact that I've got Haaland, but I'm not using that money. I don't just want Salah. I also want Gyökeres. I want Saka. I want Palmer. So it's that equation that if I can solve it through this second path, which is this one, then I might consider that as well. So that is the thinking. Every week I come to you guys with a path, and every week the path changes, but that's the point. That's the point of FPL, that with every new news, the path keeps changing. Then why do I bother? Because I love it. And that's why you're listening to me, because you want to see what I'm planning, whether it works out or not. So that's just the way I play, and that's why I love to do these videos and I love to plan. That's my favorite part of FPL, and I will continue to do so. So, like I said, if I do my moves of Senesi and Gyökeres, this is how my team looks in Game Week 5. So, Sells and Dubravka. So, Sells plays Burnley. I think that's fine. It's not as good as what it would have been if Nuno was in charge, but it's fine. Dubravka, home to Nottingham Forest, is also okay. It's not ideal, I understand. When Nottingham Forest is your opponent and it's an Ange Nottingham Forest, it's not ideal. But honestly, with Dubravka in goal, you will never find an ideal week. So you have to take that with a pinch of salt. Somebody will say, okay, what about Game Week 8? Well, Game Week 8, my Anderson from Fulham plays Arsenal. And it's right after an international break. So it's not as great either. So, but anyway, if I play with this bench boost, I'm going to play Esteve and Dubravka. Esteve could have arguably played even ahead of a Richards, for example, in this team. So it's not like, I would, if I was not on bench boost, that I would not be putting out a Burnley guy. I would probably put out Esteve over Richards. So, but for the sake of it, let's assume it's double Burnley defense. It's Van der Ven away to Brighton, and it's Reinders away to Arsenal. How many points is this going to get? Maybe 8, maybe 10. 8 means it's going to get, everybody gets clean sheet point or appearance points and don't concede 2 goals. Is that too much to ask? Maybe one return. Maybe Reinders does something against Arsenal. Maybe Van der Ven keeps a clean sheet. So I'm not even asking too much. I just want 8 to 10 points from these guys. The idea of a unicorn bench boost where everybody plays twice and gets 20 points, I think without a double game week, that just doesn't happen. Remember, it's your worst 4 players. So I'm trying not to be greedy. And because getting it out of the way is an important path to my team, it's something that I will look to do. Like, I don't think there's anybody else here that I would bench, right? I mean, Anderson home to Brentford is great. Senesi home to Newcastle. Their home form for Bournemouth is very good. He's good for DEFCON. So the 3 guys I'm playing are the DEFCON guys. So, when we talk about what has changed, are we targeting defensive contributions? That's what I'm trying to do. Am I happy with the budget I have in defense? No, man. Like, I'm having nosebleeds here thinking about, like, my most expensive defender is Senesi. I have been trying, and if Strand Larsen wasn't injured, my move was to put more money in defense. Sells was going to become Raya, Van der Ven was going to become Van Dijk, and that's a lot of money in defense. But we go with what we have. So this is what I will have. At some point, I'll grow tired of Sells and I'll take a hit to convert him into Raya. But now that will have to wait till Game Week 7 or 9 or whenever. So that's it from me. And I hope you all have a good Game Week 4. And if there's any changes to this, I have all of today and tomorrow morning to think about this, but it's likely going to be, like I said, Strand Larsen to Gyökeres and Pedro Porro to Senesi for a -4. And let's see how it goes. All right, take care. If you liked the stream, please do like the video and subscribe to the channel. Join us on Discord if you can. But otherwise, I will see you next week.